Yo, welcome to Millennial Score Matchups YouTube. Today, we got a quick little video going over what I think are the top 5 decks in Sword and Shield 2 Pokemon Go. Now, this is a lot harder to do than I thought it was. This is post-NAIC, adding in the Pogo cards, though I'm going to admit I don't think there's a ton of changes that they're having to the overall metagame currently. But I do expect some stuff to pop up for Worlds. I have some ideas, some stuff I've been testing. None of it's been really great so far. But anyway, let's go ahead and get into the top 5 decks. My number 5 is Mewtwo V Union Miltank Stall. I think this deck is very good. If you see me try it on stream, you've seen that I've run into the issue of consistency with the deck, but I don't think that's entirely true. I think this deck is super strong. It's got so many ball search cards, so many Miltank, so much stuff to get through. I think you're going to have to make some edits to Sanders' list. I think a third Miltank would be a big plus in the list, some other stuff like that. But as a whole, the deck is super powerful. I think it is something to definitely be concerned with moving forward. Now, you may be saying, well, Mello, online tournaments, it's no longer seeing a ton of play. I think people got bored with the deck. The deck's not as fun to play as I think people thought it was going to be. It's like, oh, V-Union, super cool. But it's a stall deck. It's a pretty linear, pretty minimal movement kind of stall deck. There's not a ton going on, so it's no longer the flavor of the month. People have stopped playing it. That doesn't mean it's not still super good and something to respect. People also got to play around some of the stuff, so some decks are getting slightly better matchups. Some people are starting to tech for it or adding other things or etc. So I think it's still a very good deck and something worth respecting. Or if you want to play it, something to continue to play, just start to make changes to the list to play around people's techs or play around the ways people are playing around the deck. My number 4 is Arceus B-Barrel, probably the same way Azul was playing the list. I am a huge fan of this. If you saw my stream on Monday, I had a pretty bad tournament run with the deck, but I still think it's so powerful. I think my absolute favorite thing with the deck is B-Barrel's consistency combined with just all the draw supporters. Sometimes you play Arc Intel or some other Inteleon deck and you're like, wow, this opening hand sucks because I'm playing, a 4-4-2-1 line of a card. This one, I'm just playing a bunch of draw supporters. I'm playing a Crobat, so every ball search card makes a hand live. I think this deck is so good. I'm not sold Flying Pikachu is going to be the best partner moving forward. Free Retreat's nice. Obviously, the Palkia matchup's nice. Being able to just auto win against stuff like Lunar Rock, Mad Party that's not playing Sinistea, Magikarps, etc. is also super nice. But I'm going to try some other stuff with it. I just really like the B-Barrel engine quite a bit. I think it's super powerful because it lets you just play more draw supporters, and being able to Marnie every turn against an Inteleon deck and being able to Roxanne at the end of the game is pretty darn good as well. My number 3 is Mew VMAX. Now, I'm going to say the difference between 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and 5 is pretty darn big, which is very surprising. It actually took a little bit of thought to decide whether Mew is going to be 3, 4, or 5. But here it is. It's still good. It's still powerful. The problem is every deck is naturally teching against it. Roxanne Path is very good against everything in the format, and it just happens to be really good against Mew VMAX. So, this deck, Energy Denial, Mew doesn't like that. This deck plays 4 paths, plays Marnies, plays Roxanne, Mew doesn't like that. Our 1 and 2 decks, shocker, they play Path, they play Roxanne. Mew doesn't like that. Mew is very much getting hated out of the format, not on purpose, but it doesn't hurt those decks. That strategy is also good against Mew. So if those decks stop playing it, heck yeah, Mew's going to body everyone. Why would you stop playing Roxanne? It's one of the most powerful cards in the format. But in the end of the day, Mew is so powerful. Mew flips a lot of coins. Those coin flip cards are also very powerful if you flip heads. I think Mew is a great deck. If Mew shows up at Worlds, we'll see at the numbers. I don't actually know what that's going to look like. There's definitely going to be some people in day one. How popular? I haven't decided yet. That's something I have to worry about quite a bit. But I think Mew's good. Mew is a very, very good deck. It is a very scary deck. Like I said, there's a big jump between number 3 and number 2. So this would be what the 2 decks I would consider S tier, to no surprise. Arc Intel is number 2. Now, Arc Intel is my number 2 deck, but I am enjoying it the most. I think the fact that it is a gatekeeper deck, it beats so many things just because it's able to use Sharon's Care 2, 3, 4 times in a game. It's able to use Roxanne, and being able to use all of that is just so nasty and so good. The deck is ridiculously consistent. It's able to make comebacks. It's able to play the long game. It's able to be aggressive as well. I think you don't want to overrate that the deck is still aggressive. So Arc Intel is my number 2 deck. It's so powerful. Now, whether or not you're going to throw a Radiant Charizard in there, that's one of the things people are talking about. It's a good question. I don't know. I've been trying it without it, and it's been fine. I don't know what the Radiant Charizard really solves, but I'm going to try it with the Charizard and realize that I'm probably wrong, and the Radiant Charizard super good. But in the end, Sharon's Care, good. Inteleon Engine, good. Arceus, good. Therefore, deck, good. And my number 1 deck is Palkia V-Star. Now, to no one's surprise, probably Palkia is the number 1. Palkia Inteleon is the number 1. The deck is so powerful and so aggressive. In my off-stream time, I have been grinding the Palkia versus Arceus matchup a ton for that day 1 of Worlds. And I have to say, the matchup is very fun. I think it's one of the most interesting matchups in the current standard format. It's not one that I love playing competitively, but I do love playing from a like, hey, this is interesting and stuff's going on. Very stressful to play if you're trying to win. Very fun if you're playing to enjoy the game. But anyway, Palkia is just so good, so aggressive, can make comebacks. For where I said Arceus is aggressive, Palkia is very aggressive. Your opponent puts 1 too many things in the discard pile, Echoing Horn, your bench is big enough, knockout. Oh, you put 1 too many things on the bench? Oh, knockout. Palkia just does whatever it wants most of the time. It does miss, but it doesn't miss too often. And because of that, it's so good, so powerful. It hits just a little too hard to not be the number 1 deck, in my opinion. I think Palkia is a BDIF currently. It also just doesn't have enough counters. So those are my top 5 decks. Let me know. There's other stuff. I probably could have extended out to a top 10. There's other cool stuff that, like I said, we haven't had on here. I think Dialga is definitely better than people give it credit for. Blissey Miltank is, of course, very, very good. You have other stuff like that quote-unquote liminal deck, which is the Baby Moltres, etc., is still a powerful deck as well. Ice Rider is still around and kicking. So there's tons of other cool stuff out there that's doing well. But let me know in the comment section below what you think of the top 5 lists. Like I said, this is based off of the testing that I've been doing. I've been doing a lot of grinding off stream and etc. for Worlds. And I think Palkia and Arceus are just, they're the 2 decks that I built first because they're the 2 decks I'm going to throw everything against because they're so powerful. They're so good. They're so fast. They're so consistent. And they can Roxanne you in the late game to make a comeback. Shove a 310 or 280 HP thing in the active and say, what are you going to do, punk? It's so powerful. Like, comment, subscribe, all the YouTube stuff, and I will catch you all in the next video. Peace out.